Hello and welcome back to National Busways West Scotland, where we are looking out over the Polmady Garage in Glasgow. Which, you know, it's been a while since I've said that. It's been a while since we've come back to Polmady. And yes, the fleet here is not much changed. The biggest change really is that the oldest 24 of the VW type have moved over to Kilmarnock. So we have 24 free spaces at Polmady that we are currently not doing anything with. So I'm thinking, given that Polmady is here on the south side, we plug some of the big gaps that we have in coverage on the south side. And we're only going to be putting in one route today because I got a request to do a bit of a timetable tutorial. So yeah, so the route we're going to be putting in is the 27, which will run from, that's literally called Park District. I'm going to call it Kelvin Grove Park Crescent, which is here, and hope that no one gets mad. So yeah, it's going to run from over here, through Glasgow city centre, down this way, through here, underneath the railway here. I hope we can get double-deckers under that bridge. Then down through Clarkston and into Newton Mearns, like that, terminating at the Nether Place estate here. So, let's get to the 27 without any further ado. Come on. So, bus routes. We want our normal red. And this is going to be the 27. Naturally, the game's having a moment. Although, I don't know if I said it in the episode of South Coast, my new PC is sitting in the room with me. I just need to get the hard drive swapped over. And we'll be going. So what I'll probably have my new PC ready to go for the next episode of South Coast coming out on Monday. We will see. Right, there we go. New bus route. And the game wants my attention again, because you have to click Own Bus Route. You'd think I'd know this by now, but apparently I don't. So, come on, game. Ooh, I just hit the bottom of the microphone. I hope that wasn't too loud. Yeah. So we're starting up here in this little estate. I don't know if you can see it very well because the cursor's gone to one of the Windows ones and I don't know if it picks those up. If you can see my little blue scrolling cursor, it's here. If you can't see it, it's to, like, left of the center of the screen. It's got this weird sort of flat. Oh, there we are. You'll definitely see it now. It's here. So, 156th route of the series. This is going to be the 27, Glasgow to Newton Mearns. So, we're going to start this at Park Circus. There we go. And we're going to stop there, coming out of it. And they're going into Glasgow by the looks of things. So, post me, if you don't mind. A7 is now in place between Kelvin Grove Park Circus and Newton Man's Nether Place Estate. So it's about, what would that be, about 11.5 miles each way? No, not quite. Almost 11 miles each way. So it's a decent run. It should take about an hour each way according to this. So it should be a good basis for a nice little timetable tutorial. So let's get into that after I let the timetable page load. Okay, so this screen that we are greeted with here is the simple mode for creating a timetable. In this mode, you can set your frequency, which the game calls a driving interval. Presumably that's because that is a direct translation from what the Germans say for frequency, given that this is a German game by German devs. So, in here you can set your off-peak frequency, your rush hour frequency, and it defines what the rush hour is here. So the game considers 6 AM to 9 and 4 PM to 7 to be rush hour. And then you can set the time of the first departure and the time of the last departure. If the frequency is such that your last departure, or the time here, does not coincide with the departure, it will pick the departure before. So let's say you set it to 2001. The last departure will still be at 2000, given that this frequency is for 60.5 hour, or is for every hour and every half hour. But we don't use this screen. We go into the advanced mode, which looks like this. I just gestured at my monitor as if you could see me. So, what I'm doing here, I've just jumped into it. So, let's confirm this. So here, you have your list of every single stop along the route. As you can see, we have quite a few. These numbers here are the time at which the bus will arrive at that stop and depart from that stop relative to its departure time from the first stop. So let's say that our first bus is at 5 o'clock. It will leave Park Circus at 5 o'clock, get to the Presbyterian Church at 5:01 and leave there at 5:01. It will then get to Socky Hall Street, St George's Road at 5:04 and leave at 5:04, Socky Hall Street, Douglas Road at 5:06 and leaving at 5:06, etc. The arrows that you can see here are buttons where you can either take 1 minute at a time off, or add 1 minute at a time to the departure time, which allows you to either add padding to make a route more reliable, or remove padding to make a route less reliable but faster. I typically only remove padding for overnight timings. So when I'm setting up a night bus, I will remove padding from some stops to make the route run faster. So, if we click this button here, Modify Bus Stops, I can click Kelvin Grove Park Circus, and then I can shift-click to Waypoint, so that the timetable that timetable 1, the timetable that we're currently editing, will only run from Park Circus to Newton Man's Nether Place Estate. You do this so that you can set up inbound and outbound journeys as separate, or separate inbound and outbound journeys, which gives you a little bit more granular control over how the route operates. So, what I'm going to do is, one final thing to explain. This tick box decides which stop will show on the destination display on the bus. So you want to make sure that the stop that you want to show on the bus's destination display is ticked and that none of the others are. So it looks like everything's fine here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go and add some padding to the route. What I tend to do is I tend to add about 1 minute of padding roughly every 10 minutes of route time. So the first stop before, or the last stop before we get to 10 minutes of runtime is Renfrew Street, Cambridge Street, so I'll put a minute there. Then the next one before 20 minutes is Cochrane Street, John Street. But here's where I'm going to break my rule. I'm going to put it instead at West George Street, Queen Street Station, because that is a major bus stop where you might expect a lot of people getting on and off, because it's right next to George Square. It's also right outside Queen Street Station. So then let's have a look at the stop after 10 minutes, which is Glasgow Central Mosque, which is fine. We could add the minute there, but I want to add it at Stockwell Street, Stockwell Place, because it's less than 10 minutes away, and as we're in the city centre, things will be running slower, things might be less reliable. So I want to err towards 7 or 8 minutes between timing points in the city centre, and then as we get out into the suburbs it can go up to 10 and maybe even up to 12 or even 15 minutes between timing points, depending on, you know, how busy things are. So I'll put it there at Stockwell Street, Stockwell Place. Then the one after 9 to 10 minutes is, we could either do Cathcart Road, Crown Street, or Cathcart Road, Butterbiggins Road. And as lovely as a name as Butterbiggins Road is, I'm going to put it at Cathcart Road, Crown Street, because we're still quite close to central Glasgow, so it would make sense to have it be on the side of less than 10 minutes. Now we're heading down the Cathcart Road, so 35 minutes. Let's have the next one be at Homely Road, Orkey Street. So that would be 11 minutes between due departures from timing points, because we're getting out into the suburbs a bit. 46 minutes leaving Homely Road, Orkey Street, so let's look at 56. Clarkston Community Centre, but the next stop along is Clarkston Library. That will get its timing point there. But then, seeing as between Clarkston Library and St Aidan's Church there are two big junctions, I'm also going to put a timing point at St Aidan's Church. That will just make the route run a little bit more reliably through Clarkston. Then, after 10 minutes from St Aidan's Church, we've got Newton Man's Town Centre, Ayr Road. That sounds like a really good place to put a timing point, so I'll put one in. And then we're only 2 stops from the end, so we don't need any more timing points, and now our journey time is 73 minutes. Which works quite well. So what I'm going to do with this is I'm going to have it run every 10 minutes by... oh, how am I going to do this? I'm going to have a 3-layer timetable where it will start with a 40-minute gap, go into a 20-minute headways, or go to 20-minute headways after the second bus, and then after a few buses at 20-minute headways, it will then have another layer that comes in, and it will run with 10-minute headways, and then it will fade out in much the same way it faded in, to 20 minutes for, or to 20-minute headways for about an hour or so, and then the last bus will be 40 minutes after the second to last. So let's have the first bus be at 5:05, and we will have the last bus be at midnight 05, because this is a city route, we want it to run quite long. I've deselected Sunday because Sunday will get its own timetable. And then you want to name your timetables something that you can understand when you look at them back. So MO to SA, Monday to Saturday, and then because this is the basic frequency of the route that runs all day, this is the core, and because it runs out of town, it's the outbound. So now we make a new timetable, and we go here, and we click Orchard Park Nursery, and we shift click to Park Circus to make this timetable not apply to any of those stops. We'll uncheck that because we don't want the buses towards Glasgow showing Newton Mearns on their destination blind. However, that has unticked it for the outbound timetable, so you want to make sure you put that back. Sometimes it does that. So yeah, coming out of Newton Mearns, let's put a timing point at the town centre. It's only 2 minutes into the route, but the town centre is a pretty major interchange by now in Newton Mearns. So we'll put that there. That's 3 minutes, so let's look at 13. That, if we scroll down a little bit more, is the stop on the near side of Clarkston Town Centre, and Clarkston Library is on the far side. So what we're going to do is we're going to double up timing points at both of those for the same reason that we did on the way in. There are 2 busy junctions between these 2 stops, so we want to put a timing point at both, just in case you get held up at both of them. So, we leave Clarkston Library at 16 minutes after leaving Newton Mearns. So, where is after 26 minutes? After 16 minutes after this stop is 26 minutes into the route at Clarkston Road, Homehead Crescent. So I'm going to put it at Clarkston Road, Monreath Road East, because the departure to departure time of that is 6 minutes, whereas if we put it at Homehead Crescent it would be 11 minutes, and I do want to keep this to 10 minutes between timing points. So then we look here, 26 minutes, and yeah, so after 9 minutes of runtime, if we add a minute to departure, that will be 10 minutes departure to departure, so we do get to put a timing point at Butterbiggins Road. Put that at the top, find the stop at 46 minutes, and that's going to be Stockwell Street, Stockwell Place. So we'll do that. So there's 11 minutes departure to departure between these 2 timing points, but that's probably going to be fine. Then, let's put a timing point at St Vincent Place, Buchanan Street, because that's right outside George Square and it's also quite close to Glasgow Central Station. So there'll be a lot of people wanting to get on and off at that stop. So we're at 53 minutes after leaving Newton Mearns now. And let's put another one at Bath Street, Wellington Street, and another one at Woodlands Road, Charing Cross. Then we're only 2 stops from the end, so I think that's fine. Now what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to start this half an hour later and finish it 10 minutes later. That should work. But what we can do now is we can go into the timetable preview, and you can check on your route as much as you want. So yeah, our last bus is midnight 15, I did guess that correctly. Isn't that fun? Isn't that good? Aren't I good at this? So, this first bus gets into Newton Mearns at 6:50. Now that's quite late, but that's fine, because more people will be using this route early in the morning to get from Newton Mearns into Glasgow. So we can have a few buses that run to Newton Mearns from the garage empty. But it's good to know that 6:50 is a time that we sort of need to keep free. So what I'm going to do, first of all, I'm going to set the frequency of this timetable, which is currently called Timetable 2, to every 40 minutes. Uncheck Sunday, and this, because it's the same timetable as the outbound, but going inbound, is going to be called Monday to Saturday, Core Inbound. Now I've not changed anything other than the frequency, and you can now see it works. So I'm going to have this start at 4:50. And I'm going to have the last bus in as the last one before midnight. So I've just set it to midnight, and we'll see what the last one before midnight is from Newton Mearns. It is the 23:30. Now that is absolutely fine with me, because it gets into Glasgow Central The stop I'm going to use for that is St Vincent Place, Buchanan Street, at midnight 23, which is plenty late enough. So, there are only 2 minutes between a bus arriving in and the next departure from Newton Mearns Nether Place Estate, which is probably fine because we do have padding in our timetable. But it might not be comfy. So what I'm going to do on the outbound run is put in 10 minutes of padding, so that when the route is running at its maximum frequency of 10 minutes, even though the bus immediately after, or even though the departure immediately after an arrival at Newton Mearns is in 2 minutes, it will instead wait for the one in 12 minutes. So you will get buses sort of stacking up. You'll get a bus that's arrived 10 minutes earlier, about to go, as a bus is pulling in. If you want to really control the number of vehicles you want on a route, maybe you want more so that it runs more reliably, you can change the length of this break so that buses will skip subsequent departures until their break is over, and you can give buses up to half an hour of break time between each run. Another way you can adjust the number of vehicles you need for a route is obviously adjusting how long the route takes, and also adjusting how often the route runs. So as you can see from down here, the game says we will need at least 4 buses to run this route, as it is every 40 minutes. What I'm going to do first, though, before I make any more changes to the timetable, is I'm going to look at this 4:50 from Newton Mearns Nether Place Estate. It gets into Kelvin Grove Park Circus at 6 AM. The next departure for that is the 6:15. I quite like that. So, the inbound is going to get 10 minutes of break. You could give it more. You could give it... you could make it so that the bus is on break, if you will, from the moment it arrives until like 1 minute before it departs. But setting it to a few minutes less, if you think about how that would work in real life, that time, I've pointed at my monitor like you can see, but this time is how long the driver would have as a break. And you know, drivers will take all of their break. So if they're allotted 10 minutes, they will take that 10 minutes. That's not how it works in the game, but in real life, you would give it a bit of padding as well as break. So you'd look at how long you'd be sitting at the end stop, and you would say, okay, this much of it is going to be allotted break time, this much is going to be not allotted break time, so that if the bus arrives late, it doesn't leave as late. So in this case, we're waiting 15 minutes, so the bus will sit there for 10 minutes, so if it arrives 10 minutes late, it will only leave 5 minutes late. Because 10 minutes of that time is... 10 minutes of the 15 is break time. So if it arrives 10 minutes late, it only has 5 minutes until departure, but the driver will take all 10 minutes of their break, so it would leave 5 minutes late. In theory. You know, the real world is the real world. So, let's take our timetable here, the outbound timetable, hit copy, which will copy our stop selection, our destination selection, our break length, and our timing points, and hit new timetable. Then if we hit paste, we have now effectively made a copy of the core outbound timetable, which is what we want. So let's set this to every 40 minutes as well. And I've remembered that the second departure on the core timetable from Kelvin Grove Park Circus is 6:15. So we offset it by 20 minutes. That's 6:35. And we'll run it at this frequency until the last departure before... Well, actually, no, we won't. We're going to check the timetable preview, and now you can see that these have sort of doubled up because there isn't a timetable that corresponds to them going the other way yet. So the last departure that we want will be the 23:15. Like that. So let's make that not run on Sundays, and this will say Monday to Saturday. Now you can call this whatever you want, whatever makes sense to you. I call it Extra Layer 1 Outbound. Because we have multiple layers of extra timetabling, this is Extra Layer 1, so this is the first frequency uplift. So the outbound journeys now, between 6:35 and 23:15, run every 20 minutes because of these timetables combined. Now let's do the same for the inbound. So let's have a look at the first 40-minute gap inbound. It's 5:30. So we want the first slightly more frequent departure to be at 5:50, and the last more frequent departure to be at 23:10. So let's copy that. I like to have things organized, and it automatically adds the timetable below the one you currently have selected, so keep an eye out. So uncheck Saturday, and this is going to be Monday to Saturday Extra Layer 1 inbound, and we're going to run it from 5:50 until 23:10 every 40 minutes. So now it shouldn't be doubling up anymore. See, we go to a time when everything's running normally. It's now 1 in, 1 out, 1 in, 1 out, 1 in, 1 out. So now that that's running every 20 minutes for an hour or so, let's put the Layer 2 timetable in for the outbound first, because that's how we've been working. So the first departure with a 20-minute gap is the 6:15. So the 7:15 should be the first departure with a 10-minute gap behind it. So we want a 7:25 from Park Circus. And then let's look to the other end. The last departure with a 20-minute gap before it is the 23:15, or 23:35 even. So we want the 22:35 to be the last one with a 10-minute gap before it. So we want, what was that, 7:25? Yeah, 7:25 until 22:25. That's worked out quite nicely. I like that. So we'll add a timetable, paste from the outbound. I didn't say when I copied it, my bad. So this timetable is going to be called Monday to Saturday Extra Layer 2 Outbound. And this timetable is going to run every 20 minutes from 7:25 until 22:25, like that. So now if we go to the timetable preview, you'll see that some of the buses have doubled up again. You see how they're shown right next to each other without the gap? Because these departures here don't have a corresponding departure from Newton Mearns yet, because we don't have that timetable in place. But there are departures from Park Circus from 7:15 every 10 minutes. 7:15, 7:25, 7:35, etc. All the way through until 22:35. And then it goes to every 20 minutes, and then there's a 40-minute gap before the last one. So let's get our inbound timetable again. Hit copy. Go down here, hit new timetable, hit paste. Now I've forgotten what my times were for when this one should run, so I've set it to never so that it won't show on the timetable preview. You can also do this if you don't have enough buses to run that part of the timetable. Like to get a route going, but you don't have enough buses to run a certain part of the timetable. You can set it to run never, and then come back later and edit the timetable to make it, you know, so that you can run it with fewer buses. So, we have a 40-minute gap from 4:50 to 5:30, then that 5:30 has 20-minute frequency after it, so after an hour of running every 20 minutes, the first departure with the 10-minute headways will be the 6:40 from Nether Place Estate, and the last departure with a 10-minute headway behind it should be oh, I think I've got this wrong. Yeah, we don't need to run that 23:10. Okay, so 22:50, so it should be the 21:40, so 6:40 until 21:40 will be our extra layer 2, and I need to go back and edit extra layer 1 inbound. This is a lot of talking for me. So, we'll set this to every... Oh, we won't, we'll let the game think. Yeah, this is a lot of talking for me. Make sure you stay hydrated when you're talking a lot. So yeah, we're going to set this to run from 6:40 until 22:40, I think I said. Or was it 21:40? I can always go back and check. I think it might have been 21:40. But again, we can always go back and check. That's why the timetable preview button is there. So that you can check, you can see what the timetable is looking like as you're working on it, and slowly build up step by step, rather than having to do it all at once on a wing and a prayer. So, I'm going to let the game have a think. And, yeah, I'll bring you back when the game's finished having a think, and finish making this timetable. Sunday's going to be a bit easier than the Monday, Saturday. Oh, I've been talking long enough, it's fine. So yeah, 6:40 until 21:40. And we'll run this every 20 minutes. Like that. Uncheck the Sunday service and call this Monday to Saturday extra layer 2 inbound. Then I'm going to take 40 minutes off this. It's going to finish this timetable at 22:30. Like so. So now if I check the timetable preview, you can see it's very weird at the start of the day, but that's just how things are, and then it gets weird at the end. So yes, 22:50 is the last one with a 20-minute gap before it, and 21:50 is the last one with a 10-minute gap before it. So that is correct. That's our weekday timetable set up. And according to the game, we need 15 buses to run this route. So I'm probably going to buy 18. But if I was to take all the break out of this route, that would probably go down to 12 or 13. Because we have buses waiting longer than they, we have buses waiting, like skipping a departure when they get to the end of the route. So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to Monday, Saturday core outbound, copy that, go to a new timetable, paste it, then uncheck every day except for Sunday, and this is going to be called Sunday core outbound. And let's check what the operating hours for Monday, Saturday core outbound are. It's 5:35 until midnight 15. So I'm going to take half an hour off of the running time from each end. So it's going to run from 6:05 until 23:45. But the core timetable is going to run every 30 minutes. So if I set it to that, you're going to see that there is no 23:45 departure, because the last departure on a half-hourly frequency from 6:05 is 23:35. But I'm fine with that. So I'll just bring that down to 23:35, make that neat and tidy. Saving failed. Make sure there's enough disk space available. Yeah, make sure you have enough disk space available on your PCs. Yeah, somehow it's still saved? This PC will never make any sense. So, I've just copied and pasted the inbound timetable to do much the same thing with the inbound timetable. So this is going to say Sunday core inbound, and this is going to run every half hour. And again, we want to take half an hour off of the beginning, so that's going to start at 5:20. 5:20, and let's take half an hour off there, so that's going to be 23:30. But we know that actually that means the last departure will be at 23:20, because that's how half-hourly works. If your first departure is at 20 minutes past the hour, your next one will be at 50, the one after that will be 20 minutes past the next hour. So it'll be the same 2 times every hour, so that makes it very easy to work out. So if we go to Sunday now, we have half-hourly departures from Park Circus, and we have half-hourly departures from Newton Mearns. So on a Sunday, a change that I'm going to make to the timetable to bring down the Sunday vehicle requirement is I'm going to remove its allotted break time. And then I'm going to reduce the allotted break time down to 2 minutes on a Sunday for the outbound. Then I'm going to check how long I really have, because it might be that I want to give them an extra minute, give them 3 minutes. But we'll see how long we will have at Park Circus. So we leave Newton Mearns at 5:20, we get into Kelvin Grove at 6:30, the next departure after that will be 6:35, I'm happy giving them 3 minutes of break there. Like that. So let's go to our outbound, hit copy, and because we're working with much more even fractions of an hour from the get-go, it's easier to work out when we need buses to run. So this is going to say Sunday extra outbound, and I'm going to say for the first hour and a half it's going to run at this frequency. So we want the 7:35 to be the first one with a 15-minute gap behind it. So that means the 7:50 is going to be the first extra departure. And we'll run that every half hour, so that it combines to form a 15-minute service. And we're going to do the same going the other way. So that would be until 20:05, not 20:05, until 22:05. So the last departure at that high frequency is going to be the 21:50. So let's set that to 21:50. Then let's go to Sunday inbound, copy that. So again, we want an hour and a half off the front and an hour and a half off the back. So we want the 6:50 will be the first one with a 15-minute gap behind it, and the 21:50 will be the last one with a 15-minute gap in front of it. So that would be the 7:05, or that would be the extra inbound timetable would run from 7:05 until 21:35? That sounds reasonable. That sounds correct. So, 7:05. Yeah, I don't think there's a big limit when it comes to how many timetables you can make, but if you make more than 9, you will be put onto a new page. But that's fine. And again, we're running that every half hour. And this is going to be called Sunday Extra Inbound. So let's just go and check that everything's all correct. Copy that. And paste it. Then, let's go to the outbound timetable, because the extra inbound has an incorrect break setting. So that just ensures that they're all going to be the same. So the game thinks we will need 15 buses, so I will buy 18. Now that we have our timetable made, let's set our preferred vehicle group. And I'm going to buy some Trident ALX 400s for this route. And this is a new feature they added in the last update, where you can have different timetables operated by different garages. However, I'm going to leave it as the default and assign every timetable to the same garage. It just so happens that Polmedy is the one I'm going to pick, but when it's set to default, it will work as it did before the update, where you hit confirm, and every garage that's set to default will be affected by what you select here. So we're going to run it out of Polmedy, and we'll activate the route now. So the game's just going to create all the shifts that we need for the shift scheduler, and I'm going to buy the 18 Trident ALX 400s that we will need to operate this route. And finally, we have SK04 FVU, better known as TA 570. So that's all 18 of our new buses in. That took way longer than I would have hoped. But dealing with the main depot, when the main depot has 239 buses in it, and a service centre that looks like that, yeah, it's lagfest. Again, my new PC's literally sat at the other end of my room. I could do something about it if I wanted to, but I can't be bothered to go downstairs, get a screwdriver, get the hard drive swapped over, so yeah. But yeah, no, this is the ALX 12,000 here. It's National Busway's latest creation to deal with the capacity problems on the 15. No, it's a bunch of ALX 400s that have just come in to do the 27. But anywho, yeah, it is now time to put the camera in a depot that is less round. Let's take Wishaw. There we go. And then I am tired. Yeah, then it'll be time to have a look at the new 27 when it launches. We're going to do a run on it from Kelvin Grove to Newton Mearns, as opposed to the other way around, because I'm in the mood to go that way. So yeah, I will rejoin you when we have something to look at on the 27. Right, so we're not going to Newton Mearns on that 27, because it crashed a desktop. So yeah, I've not lost any progress. We're currently looking at TA 553 in the garage right now. But yeah. So yeah, no, let's just go up to the map view and have a look at the 27 and finish it off there, because this has been a nightmare. The old PC is not going out gracefully, but you know, editing normally goes well, so it's just running City Bus Manager that it doesn't like, because City Bus Manager needs all the RAM in the known universe. So yeah, loading the map view the first time takes a bit. But yeah, it is map view time to look at our progress, our new route. Right, there we are. We have the 27 highlighted on the map, so you can see where it goes. So it starts up here at Kelvin Grove Park Circus, runs down through central Glasgow, past the Osborne Street interchange, and then down the Cathcart Road to Cathcart, the Clarkston Road to Clarkston, and then into Newton Mearns on its southeastern side, and terminates at the Nether Place Estate, which is over here. So, yeah. It's a nice route, it's a good route, it should be a nice addition to the network, and yeah, that, I think, is all she wrote for this week. So, I will see you next week, from a new PC that should perform better, from National Busways, West Scotland. Bye bye.